I'm back with another video. Today I want to talk to you about the classic Hearthstone cards. And by classic cards I don't mean the ones that are basic, not these ones, just the classic set. And I want to discuss with you like what the classic set brings to the game and what cards can potentially be changed, or what is my idea on like changing the classic set, because I see that there is like a lot of discussion within the community about this subject. And I have a different opinion, I think, than most of the people do. I don't think that many classic cards should get changed because I don't think the power level is that high, but let's go through the cards and I can show you. I'll click on crafting because I don't have all the classic cards, they're not that strong. So like, Naturalize for example is a card that is very wacky, sometimes can be used out of Raven Idol, but other than that it's not that great. It can be used as a tool to teach new players about value and give them a tough lesson on that. Even if you have like a 1 mana removal, you might end up losing because of that. Or sometimes you are so much ahead that a 1 mana removal that gives your opponent cards will not hinder your performance that much. So I guess a Naturalize is like a perfect card for this example. Savagery is pretty weak. Power of the Wild is like another interesting card, a really good choose one effect, and has the decision of either buffing or like summoning a Panther. Playing a 3-2 Panther for 2 is usually bad, so like you only want to play this index where the main effect is going to be the +1/+1, and you just go for the 3-2 if you have nothing better to do, so it also adds some versatility. Wrath I think is a bit too strong. It's just playing like almost every Druid deck, if not every Druid deck. I think it's in every Druid deck. I think Wrath could be like one of the contenders to get moved to Wild. Because like that's what people are talking about, like just straight up nerfing the card isn't that cool, and I would like rather move the cards to Wild so that people can still play them in Wild, but in Standard something fresh and new should come up. Mark of Nature is useless. Bite is like sometimes from Raven Idol, but most of the time useless. Keeper of the Grove for example should have been moved to Wild in my opinion. They nerfed him so hard that now it's unplayable. But if they kept him in the last form, they could have just moved him to Wild, and people that wanted to play with Keeper of the Grove could still do so in Wild. And that's what I think Blizzard should do when they want to like hammer some cards. Just move them to Wild and bring back some new cards that would be interesting in the current meta, kind of like a reprint. I don't think people would be like sad about it, especially if you give them like dust value back for like moving the card to Wild. I don't think anybody would complain about this. And people that quit the game and come back to the game, because that's like a major concern in the community. People like quitting the game, coming back, and they want to feel the same way as they did before they quit. I mean, do you want to make them feel bad because they quit for a reason? And I think change is always appreciated by the players that want to come back. And if somebody wants to feel the nostalgia, they can play some Wild games. This way you can also incentivize people to play Wild more by nerfing cards like Molten Giant, for example. By putting them to Wild, so instead of nerfing them, some guy might be like, I want to play with the old Molten Giant, let's play some Wild games. Same with Blade Flurry maybe, you get that nostalgia factor in Wild, then you'd also get more people playing Wild and not just have Wild as the wasteland of Standard where you just drop all the broken shit and yeah. So I think like, kind of like a core set should be like the thing, but not really a core set, just keep the classic thing and just change some cards. Just put some cards back, bring them back in, something like that. I would like that more. This was played at some time, at some point. It's a cool card. It should just stay as it is. Druid of the Claw is interesting. I really like Druid of the Claw. One of the good choose one cards that doesn't see play in every deck right now. It used to see play in every Druid deck back in the day, but now we have better options. It's not like even we have better option, you're forced to play Nourish in most of the decks because you lack card draw. Like they nerfed Agent of Lore, and by nerfing Lore, they force you to play Nourish, and by forcing you to play Nourish, you don't have space to play Druid of the Claw. If Lore would still be a thing, then you'd also play Druid of the Claw over Nourish, because you wouldn't need the external card draw. But yeah, after nerfing Lore, I really like Druid of the Claw. Talking about Lore, should also get moved to Wild and not nerfed to the underground of the game. Nobody's like gonna play a 7 mana draw card, especially when Azure Drake is around. And that's another thing, I'm afraid of Azure Drake getting the same treatment. Okay, let's look at Force of Nature, another garbage card that could also have been moved to Wild to like keep the Force of Nature Savage Roar thing in Wild, and in Standard you could only play with Savage Roar, for example. Savageor staying the same way doesn't affect the game that much. People are like afraid that Savageor is like on its own super broken, which it is, but also like classes have board wipes right now, so like it's very hard for Druid to like stick a board and then Savageor and kill you. So that's why Savageor decks don't see that much play. But yeah, Force should have just been kept the same. I mean, all the cards they nerfed, all the cards they over-nerfed should have been moved to Wild instead. And you see that it creates some variety. Like not having lore in the game made people play Nourish. Not having Force made people change to other strategies. So it's good, but you can also have Force in Wild instead of just not having Force at all in the game. Because that's how it is right now. Like, it's a pick from Raven Idol once in 1000 years. Nourish, very strong card, but also like super expensive to play. I think it's a super well balanced card. I really like Nourish. Like, you play it, and you get tempo for the following turns, but you lose a lot of tempo now. Of course, if you play it with Fandral, you get both, but I wonder if Nourish is gonna be that good after Fandral rotates out. But there's some time until Fandral rotates out. Starfall is garbage. Lore should have been moved to Wild. War is cool. War is like a big body, but also has a lot of counters. It can be very easily killed by one targeted removals. So yeah, it has a lot of counters, but it's a very good card overall. I really like War. And Scenarios, he saw some play. I mean, you cannot buff him, so you just leave him the way he is. But yeah, Druid cards are really good. The only mistake they did with Druid was like over-nerfing free cards instead of moving them to Wild. Whereas if they move them to Wild, you'll still have like some exciting decks in Wild that you wouldn't have in Standard. And since nobody plays these cards in Standard anymore, it's just like wasted opportunities, I think. Let's go to Mage. To Hunter, sorry. Useless. Then the Secrets. Flare, another card, should have been moved to Wild. Nobody's gonna play 2 mana Flare in Standard. Unless people start playing... like, even if people play like Reno Mage and Rogue, people still won't play Flare for 2 mana. Even if Hunter was like good, they probably wouldn't play Flare. They would probably just rely on like bursting opponent before. Other than that, like, see, the secrets are interesting. All these secrets are really cool for the game. It learns the new players like a lot of things. Scavenging Hyena is like another example of like a very low static card. And it teaches you about the B synergies, and like having B synergy deck can be really good with Scavenging Hyena. You can have like a lot of combos in this regard. Like also Unleash the Hounds helps it. Unleash was a good nerf. Unleash at 3 mana I think is perfectly fine. Savannah is a bit too strong, but I think Savannah is so core to the Hunter that if they ever want to change her, they should probably just alter the stats a bit, like maybe make her like a bit more glass cannon, like 6-4 or 6-3. But they shouldn't move her to Wild or over-nerf her. Like, now she's broken, but Hunter doesn't see play. So, like, since Hunter is bad, Savannah is also bad. But she's the control killer. She could also, like, very easily be a legendary, but I don't think they can change that. This is useless, useless, useless. Yeah, some wasted potential in Hunter. They could have done more interesting things. Like, if you look at Druid, they did, like, way more interesting things with the Druid classic cards than with the Hunter ones. Hunter has secrets and some B synergy, and that's pretty much it. What they offer with the classic set. People have been complaining about Ice Block for a long time. I think it has some counterplay, but sometimes it becomes too annoying. If it ever becomes super problematic and they want to nerf it, I would rather they move it to Wild to keep the nostalgia factor. But I don't think Mage is that oppressive that you need to move it to Wild. But they could like move it to Wild just to like keep things fresh, as they state they want to do with Hearthstone. Mana Worm, also like a card that you could either Mana Worm or Sorcerer's Apprentice. If Tempo Mage becomes super strong, they could just also move one of those to Wild. Keep the deck if you want to play it in Wild. You can have all the tools at your disposal, but I don't think it's an issue right now. But yeah, Mage has like pretty cool cards. If you look at like all the AoEs, the AoEs got super nerfed and they're still like playable. Blizzard used to be 5 mana, is still really good at 6. Cone used to be like broken, but now at 4 mana I don't think it's seeing that much play. Frost Nova still sees some play, but Frost Nova is it in this set? No, I think Frost Nova is like basic. Yeah, Frost Nova is basic. Untitled is another really cool design card. I think it should just stay the same way. People were always complaining about Untitled back in the day. They are saying that the fireball you get should not be able to like summon another fireball, I think. That's what they were saying, or something like that. But I think now he's like fine. People like considered him like super bad, and now he sees some playing Reno Mage, so I think that's fine. Yeah, Mage seems to be okay. Pyroblast is a cool card. Paladin has all the secrets, the basic ones. That's what classic set does. It just like puts the grounds of the game. You get cards like Equality. You get cards like Ice Block in Mage, and so on. It's pretty cool. Like, I think the secrets are really cool design, and I feel this is like also cool design. Interesting design, might be on the slight edge of being overpowered in some metas, but it incentivizes counterplay. Like, you can play around Equality and get rewarded for it. I think that's really cool. For example, Outlaw is another like very nicely designed card. Tyrion is probably like the strongest card in the game, value wise. Like in Arena you would like to have Tyrion. I'm not sure now, I didn't check the Arena tier list, but I think Tyrion is like one of the strongest cards to get in the game in Arena, for example, just from a value point of view. I know it has like multiple contexts in constructed, from polymorphing to Sylvanas to all that. I think Paladin is fine. They just need to be careful not to give them too many tools, because if they have too many tools then they can do everything. You don't want Paladin to be able to aggro, and right now he cannot aggro that well. Because if they can aggro really well, they have like the weapons, they have the removal. Also, if they control, you want them to like not have like broken control cards, because then you will never be able to kill them, which can also be an issue in some situations. So Paladin is very hard to balance, I think. But overall, I don't think they should change any of the cards. People are also complaining about Divine Favor not getting nerfed. Like, if Divine Favor ever becomes OP, there's like almost no way to nerf it. If you nerf the mana cost, you fuck it up. So like, I would suggest again moving it to Wild if they want to ever nerf it. Same for Equality maybe, but I don't think Equality will become... I mean, it could become broken. It is like one of the strongest cards, one of the strongest removal cards, in combination with Pyromancer. Maybe you can put Pyromancer back, and then have like Equality Consecration, and that's pretty much it. But yeah. Okay, moving on to Priest, we have the Ocean Eye combo being introduced in the game. This combo could also like be problematic in some meta games, but it requires so much that I don't think it is that much of a problem right now. The cards they put for Priest are not that interesting, for example, in the classic set. Like Silence, who plays this? Lightspawn is like, eh. Lightwell is janky. Inner Fire is a decent card, a good idea, cool idea. Shadow Form also like a cool idea. Toasteel, not so much. With the Priest stealing stuff. At least Toasteel fits them more than like stealing cards fits Rogue, for example. Then you have like cards like Mind Games, Shadow Madness, Cabal Shadow Priest. Really cool cards overall. Nothing too broken, nothing that should be changed. Like, obviously you could buff some cards, but I don't want to get into that. I'm only talking about like nerfs here, because that's what Blizzard wants to do. And I understand it. If you buff all the cards, then nobody's gonna like buy your latest expansions. So you want the cards in the classic set to just be like okay level, just to be the ground, and to build upon that with the new card. Yeah, nothing seems OP there. Oh baby, Rogue. Well, we all know Rogue. It's a very high roll deck, very high roll class. But I don't think you can change that many things. Like, you cannot nerf Preparation, you cannot make it 1 mana, you cannot make it have the spells cost 2 less, because then it would be just too weak. Because Innervate is kind of like cost 2 less, but Innervate applies to minions too. Prep only applies to spells, so if Prep would apply to minions, you wouldn't have dead turns with Gadgetsan. Like, Rogue would play Innervate, I think, more than Prep maybe in some situations, especially in like more minion heavy decks. Then you have like Shadowstep, which is a cool design. Cobra is also like a cool design. Conceal, it is a cool design but can become problematic in some situations. It has very few counterplay options in some meta games, maybe including this one too. But at the same time, Conceal is a dead card so many times if you don't have a board. So like, as long as you don't let the rogue have the board, usually it will be a dead card in their hand. Yeah, sometimes they can play some minions and Conceal and do some magic things and then kill you next turn, but that's very unlikely. Eviscerate is like just good card, I don't think it should be nerfed. I mean, they cannot nerf it. This is like the kind of card that if they wanted to like nerf, they should just move it to wild. But it's such an emblematic card for like Hearthstone play that I don't think they should touch it. Edwin is kind of like a problem. He's obviously broken, but he's mostly broken because of the new cards. He's broken because single target removal is expensive, and not every deck plays single target removal. Like Agro Shaman and Pirate Warrior don't play single target removal. That's already like the best decks in the game, not having like a way to deal with Edwin. Against control decks, Edwin is not that great. He's just like the anti-aggro tool. I guess they will not touch him because he's also like emblematic, and also like relies on you having like counterfeit coins, which is like a new card. So they want you to like use the new combos in this way and like profit off the back of the pirates. SI Agent was an auto include, but now doesn't see play in like every rogue deck. It badly sees play now in rogue. So it's very interesting how some emblematic cards can like switch. I remember the times where like Edwin was like a questionable pick in like Miracle Rogue, and SI was an auto include, and if you would cut SI you were mad. Blade Flurry should have been moved to wild, that's for sure. They shouldn't have nerfed it to 4. Wanna get rid of the card and not have the problem? Just move it to wild. Keep the nostalgia factor for people that wanna play it. But yeah, I think Rogue is like okay. Maybe they could consider touching Van Cleef and making him like a 1-1. But other than that, I don't think they should touch anything else. And I don't think Van Cleef should be put to wild. I think she should be standard. If you wanna nerf him, just make him like a 1-1. Or reduce the power level by a bit. But then you make him a bit boring. Then it's hard to get like maximum value. Like you feel good when you make like an all-in Van Cleef, even though he's like very uninteractive for your opponent. Shaman has like some really bonkers cards. Olfak was like also like an auto include back in the day when Silence was like really good. Dust Devil teaches you like how bad 1 HP minions are. Fog Lightning teaches you how bad having like insanely much overload on like a really good card is. These are the kind of cards that Shaman can teach new players about value. Like the cards appear really good, like 1 mana, deal 2 damage to 2 random enemies, like insane. But then you like look at the overlord and you like see how it affects your future turns, so you like realize how shitty it actually is. Lightning Bolt, yeah, really good card, Lightning Bolt. Rogue Biter used to be like almost straight up better when you were going for face, but they nerfed Rogue Biter to 2, so that's like cool. Rogue Biter was like basic card too, it wasn't classic. Feral Spirit is also like an interesting card. In some meta games it's like insane, in some meta games it's like super bad. I guess they should just keep it as it is. I think it's gonna become weak after Trog is out, because like the main reason for why Feral Spirits is played is like the Trog synergy, and just like giving Trog 2 attack is like phenomenally insane. It's like just pure nuts, like insane value. Farsight is like also like an interesting card. Shamans have like a lot of interesting cards. Nothing mega OP. Oh, Lightning Storm. I always advocated for like making Lightning Storm deal like a fixed amount of damage and like either increasing or reducing the cost. Like in my world, Lightning Storm should be like 2 mana, deal 2 damage to everything, and no overload. Or overload 1. Overload 1 would be fair. Because deal 2 damage to like all the minions is kind of like Consecration. And then you have it for like 2 mana and 1 overload. That would be fair, right? So you know exactly how much it deals. But then Maelstrom arrived. That was like pre-Maelstrom. So now Shaman just has like 2 removal. I would have just not released Maelstrom if I was at Blizzard with like all the power. I would just not release Maelstrom and make Lightning Storm 2 mana, deal 2 damage and overload for 1. That would be like more balanced. Shamans would only have like 1 board clear and not have like 2 board clears. Maelstrom being incredibly broken, Lightning Storm being like not so broken because you have to rely on like the RNG. But it's pretty annoying that sometimes you have to play Maelstrom because you play mid-range Shaman and you don't have anything else to play. And then you have to like rely on getting lucky, and your opponent has to like rely on you getting unlucky. So it kind of like becomes a situation where like one player is always going to be upset. I don't like this swingy shit. That's why Crackle is not a good card. Crackle shouldn't even be in Wild. Crackle should just be nerfed out of Wild. Should be deleted from the game. I really like Lava Burst design. It's just like a bad card that you have to play because your deck just needs the extra damage no matter how expensive it is. Like your deck has so much cheap damage that they don't mind playing some expensive damage. They pay so little for Trogtot and Golem and all the other burst cards that they can afford to like overspend on Lava Burst. Doomhammer, I never liked this card. I guess it's fine now after Rockbiter being nerfed, but with Rockbiter at 1 mana it was complete cancer. I would have also made this like more expensive and reduced the overload, because just hitting on turn 5 it just kills rogues, for example, if they just played on curve on 5. Whereas if it would be like 6 mana overload 1, it would see play like one turn later, so it wouldn't be that impactful, I think. Other than that, they have some really interesting cards. Like this is like cool design, cool design, cool design. Just like super good body with a lot of overload that can be used with like combination with Ancestral. I really like the Shaman cards most of the time. The only Shaman card I don't like and I would change is Lightning Storm. But again, making it 2 mana would make it weird because you already have Maelstrom, which is basically almost the same, a bit more broken. Also, Maelstrom, I don't know why it summons a random 1-drop and not just like a 2-1 body, for example. There's 3 situations with Maelstrom. There's like one where like the average, one where like one player high rolls, and one when the player low rolls. Why would you want to have that? Whatever. That was just like my random rant on unnecessary RNG. Warlock. Warlock I think also has some really cool cards, some really cool synergies, like we have the Flame Imp. The Blood Imp is shitty. When they nerfed the Blood Imp, they couldn't put him in Wild. They could now buff it to the OP form and put him in Wild. Why not? It to make the things more interesting. Just reverse the nerf and put him back in Wild. Same probably for the Starving Buzzard. It'll be more interesting, right, to just have Wild the most dominant strategies of all the time. Because this card never sees play in Standard. The only time it sees play is like out of Peddler, when you have nothing better to pick, when you have this and 2 Murlocs or something like that. PO is again a really interesting design. You need to have a minion on the board and you need to be willing to like let that minion go. But when you end the game it doesn't really matter, or when you take some value trades, or when you have a powerful Death Rattle. So it's like a very cool card to have in the game, I think. Maybe slightly on the powerful part, but you want to have some powerful cards that intrigue the players into making some cool strategies with them. Doom got another really cool card. If you like discard 2 cards you lose value, whereas if you have an empty hand or 1 card you gain value. And then you have like also combinations with the Malchazar Imp, and you can like reduce that. Really cool card, really cool card, really cool card, really cool card. Pretty weak, but whatever. Really cool card. Yeah, Warlock has like a ton of cool cards. I really like the Warlock Classic set. I wouldn't change anything. Warrior on the other hand, Shilsam is like OP, but you have to have some armor, so that's like the condition. Other than that, Frothing is very strong in some situations. I think that when they nerfed the patron thingy, they should have just nerfed Frothing to like 2-3. That would make it like okay. It's like a very strong card for 2-4, 3 mana, a super strong card. But other than that, I like the warrior cards. I don't like Brawl. I don't like useless RNG like this, but yeah, they will never change Brawl, I think. It's like very expensive, kind of. But it's also like annoying type of RNG. The abusive nerf was okay. He's still like kind of playable, and it was just like too oppressive. The Leper Gnome nerf, maybe they should have just put Leper Gnome back to Wild instead of like over nerfing him. But you have like some really cool design cards like the Bloodset Corsair, like the Argent Squire. You have some meme cards like Wisp. Again, not every card needs to be good. Decken is like also like a unique card, like 1-1 charge if you have a weapon, like very cool effect. 1-1 stealth. I really like the classic neutrals. Very powerful cards like Talnos. I don't think Talnos is like OP. I don't think Talnos should be nerfed. Like many people, I think I studied the trend. I cut Talnos out of Rogue because I felt like it's not really good in the current meta in Rogue decks. And then like Fenomeno and Casey and then other players followed, started like cutting Talnos too. So yeah, cutting Talnos is probably okay. And yeah, he's very strong in like Shaman. He's very strong. But in Shaman he's very strong because of the Spirit Claws. You don't see him being played in Druid for a reason. I think it's like an okay card. I don't think it should be nerfed. Very cool designed too. Just like a low cost legendary 1-1 spell damage and the Death Rattle. Nice interesting body. As much as I don't like Doomsayer, I think he's needed in the game. But then again, other really interesting cards. Repentant Watcher because of Owl. Owl should have probably been moved to Wild instead of like over nerf. Then they could bring some other cards. They could bring like Zombie Chow. I don't think they should bring like Belcher, for example. Maybe they could bring Belcher back after Zoff is in Wild. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I don't think they should bring Belcher. Cards like Zombie Chow maybe could be brought back. But they gave us Mistress of Mages, which is basically very similar to Zombie Chow. But not exactly Zombie Chow. It's something like... I like the Juggler nerf. I think Juggler is like still cool to be in Standard and still good at 2-2. It is like RNG, but yeah, you gotta have some RNG in the game. It's like the thing that they wanted. Pyromancer again, really interesting effect. Same for Acolyte. Oh, there's like a lot of cards with interesting effects. Ned Pagel, they should just make him like the old form. I'm very curious if he would see play right now. I'm not actually sure. It would be cool to see Ned Pagel, and if he's too OP, just move him back to Wild or something like that. They could like play around with this. They could also like cash in on the nostalgia factor if they make Ned Pagel back. Arcane Golem should have been moved to Wild. Because like who the heck would play this? He's like such a garbage card. Mukla, another interesting card. Let's take another interesting card. So many interesting cards. Nothing really OP, but really interesting design to see. Azure Drake. He's like the main contender. I think as a deck is being played right now in so many decks because he's so versatile. It brings spell power, card draw, you don't lose that much by playing him in your deck. And I think it's a card that they should move to wild. I think it's a bit too strong and too played right now. But they need to like release some good 5-drop that are a replacement. Like Druid can go without Azure Drake. It's super good in Druid, but they can go without. Rogues on the other hand, rogues really need Azure Drake. What are rogues gonna play? Burgly Bully? That's kind of like a replacement for when Pillager goes out. I don't really know, they need like another powerful 4 or 5 drop, the rogues. Otherwise you like hit them way too much by removing Azure. And yeah, he's playing like a lot of other decks. Even Shaman plays it, but that's because of the Spirit Clause. Shaman will just play every spell power card because of Spirit Clause. And I think Azure Drake should probably be moved to wild. I like Leroy. He's like a neutral fireball for 1 more mana with a downside. Like it cannot go for taunt. I think Leroy is like perfectly designed. It sees some play now, but it's not like obliterating. And I think that after Emperor leaves, he will see even less play. He will see play mostly like Rogue, right? No, I like Leroy. I think Leroy should be in. I would recommend they could like play around with making him like a 5-drop. Maybe then Rogue would play it. I don't know. If they wanted to give some extra 5 mana powerful cards to Rogue. I like Sylvanas at 6. I think she's like also like skillful type of RNG. What I don't like is Ragnaros. I've always said it. I've always had like a bias against him, probably because he made me lose a lot of important tournaments. Yeah, I don't really like the card. But there is no way they move it to wild. It's just too Hearthstone. I didn't play World of Warcraft, but I know that everybody just loves Ragnaros and like the lore of Ragnaros and like the 888, just like, the look of it. I personally would just delete the card entirely, but that's just my bias. I really hate this random game deciding RNG, but yeah. Other than that, we have some really interesting cards. Like Alexaza is a very interesting design, not so interesting design. It's just like a Clown Fiesta card. It's like interesting, very interesting. And cool. And this should have been moved to wild if they wanted to get rid of it. And then you could also like talk about what cards you'd move back from wild, but that's another video for another time. Already this video is like 30 minutes long. If you watched this far, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll make more videos soon. I didn't make that many videos in the last weeks. Didn't have that much time, but now I'm gonna get back at making YouTube videos, and I will provide interesting content. I'll be talking about like other game related things like this, or like just esports scene related things where I talk about like tournaments, teams, and all that kind of subjects. And if you have some interesting ideas, just drop them in the comments down below about either this topic or other topics you want me to cover. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya!